editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for joining us for the 4 o'clock news and politics show. We are politics. And Nick Autiello is officially kicking off the state Senate campaign for District 5 in Providence. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Kate.
So talk with us a little bit. Here we are. It's May. You've been off to the races for a little while. So let's talk about the time frame. Why now?
Well, it's, campaign season is getting started. Folks are starting to pay attention. And we're really going to start hitting the ground running. I've been knocking on doors for the last few weekends and getting great feedback from voters. And I'm excited to, start this next phase of the campaign into the summer.
Well, I'm glad to have you in here because we did back, I think it was Q4, you had raised some big fundraising numbers. Yes. So talk with us, talk with the viewers while we have you here in studio about why you're running for the seat.
Sure. So I grew up here in Rhode Island. And when I was growing up, my dad's small business fell victim to a changing economy, and it was a jewelry store, so it was a sign of what was to come. And this was about 2004, 2005, and we had to move to Florida to find new opportunity. And so I'm running so that no kid in Rhode Island has to have the same problems and the same lack of opportunity that I went through when I was a kid. And I want to make sure that that promise that we're told about in third grade civics of the American dream is actually open to every single person in our state.
I mean, how much do you hear about that from Rhode Islanders? I certainly hear it in the press all the time about losing our youth. They go away to college and they don't come back. Was this just one of the top issues that you've heard?
It's absolutely the top issue that I've heard, especially from an older generation I've been plenty of places around the country, around the world. There is a Rhode Islander doing something amazing in every big city in the country. When I was in London, there's Rhode Islanders everywhere. They could be doing all of these things here. They could be building our state up, and instead they're contributing their talents and their skills to some other place. And meanwhile, we're suffering for it.
Okay, so you're going to have the big kickoff tonight at Caserta's Pizza, which is why I wanted you in here. Is that your tops? Is that your fave?
I don't want to judge, but I've been going there since I was 3 or 4 years old, and so there's a special place in my heart for it.
So what's going to be the message tonight when you talk with folks about why they should be voting for you?
It's going to be just that. It's going to be opportunity, and it's going to be a call for a new generation of leaders in Rhode Island. I came back here three and a half years ago from grad school, and the same people who were in charge when I was born are still in the legislature today. And we wonder why things have gotten the way they've gotten. It's because we've had the same people who are just in it for themselves and titles and feeling good and not delivering for the people of Rhode Island. And I think we need a new energy, a new outlook into our future, and we can really make some big changes here. And I know that Rhode Island can be the best state in the whole country.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the big issues up at the Statehouse as you're eyeing the seat here. They're kind of in that home stretch. It is an election year. They're not looking to stay there any longer than they have to, that's for sure. A couple of things we're looking at. We're waiting to see if there might be any legislation pertaining to the Pawtucket Red Sox. We saw the Senate approve it sitting in the House. We do know that the Speaker has had conversations. What's your thoughts on the Pawtucket Red Sox look at the Apex site in Pawtucket?
The Paw Sox are a treasured Rhode Island institution, and it would be a shame if they left.
So keeping an eye on that. Again, it's the Senate side that has approved the current legislation as it stands. We're waiting to see if anything else comes out of the House. Now, one of the issues that we did not see this year because there's been a working group, legalization of marijuana.
I really do believe that marijuana should be legalized. It should be regulated. Alcohol and tobacco are far more dangerous and far more deadly substances, but they have a lot of corporate money behind them, and they have really good lobbyists, and that's why they're legal and everywhere. Not to say that there aren't risks with marijuana, but it should be legal, it should be regulated, and we can learn the lessons of places like Colorado and how you roll it out, but there's no reason for it to be illegal. It puts a segment of the population, predominantly the African American population, in prison for things that white people are also doing and not getting arrested for, and it's creating the school to prison pipeline. It's a mess, and it can solve a lot of our problems if we just treat it like any other substance.
Well, we're not going to see any movement on it at the Assembly this year, but potential for the Assembly moving forward as we see what happens in Massachusetts, to see what happens here in Rhode Island. So you've got a crowded primary.
Yes.
You've got an incumbent who's been there for a number of years, also a progressive opponent. Where would you put yourself in the political spectrum?
I don't like labels. I'm mostly focused on getting things done for the people in my district. You know, people like to throw things around and put you in a box, and that's not what we need in our politics. That's why we're where we are, with people running around saying, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, and I hate you because you're the other thing. And it's not productive. You know, I believe in very democratic values. I believe in mostly progressive policy positions. But I think we need to be able to talk to one another as Rhode Islanders and as people who are committed to making our state a better place, and leave the labels for the talk shows and fighting on social media and focus on actually getting things done for the people in Rhode Island.
And so let's talk a couple more issues up at the Statehouse right now. The issue of guns.
Yes.
We saw that the House passed red flag legislation, looking to see action on the Senate side. What's your thoughts on the gun debate?
Well, I was really excited a couple of weeks ago to be down in Washington with a bunch of students from Providence who were at the March for Our Lives. And it was amazing to see young people come together to finally put a stop to the scourge of gun violence that's plaguing our country. And it hits every aspect of our society. It's deeply ingrained in our consciousness that there are some places where you just can't go outside, or my kid might not be safe at school. And so we just have to take common sense steps to keep people safe. And it's not about, you know, people like to make this about the government and tyranny and the Second Amendment. This is about keeping kids safe. And that's where it should be.
Do you think that there's a potential for the red flag legislation to move through on the Senate side from what you've been keeping tabs on?
I would hope so. I would really hope so. And I would hope that, you know, my opponent votes for it.
And so what are you continuing to keep an eye on up there as the incumbents up there? You've got a primary, but keeping an eye on what the Assembly achieves this year. What are you looking at?
Well, I'm mostly looking to make sure that we get a good budget that invests in our schools, that invests in economic development, and that invests in healthcare and our social safety net. Those are the most important things. And I'm also looking for the legislature to make progress on things that are going to move our state forward, to continue investing in the kinds of research and development that can create new jobs in our state, and protecting the most vulnerable in our society, and making sure that all of the institutions and programs that lift people up are fully funded. And, you know, I'm really looking for them to keep protecting our democracy. You know, we're at a really tough time in our country right now. And there are things, my opponent, for example, is sponsoring a bill to make our voter ID law even stricter right now. And those are things that are going to continue to erode our democracy and turn people off. And we have to be doing the exact opposite right now.
So what do you think are going to be the deciding factors in Senate District 5?
I think people are looking for a new, fresh voice, and they're looking for someone who has ties to the district that they're running in. I think that that's really important. I mean, I grew up at my grandmother's house in this district. I grew up going to Caserta all the time after soccer practice. Both of my grandfathers owned small businesses in this district. One owned a body shop, one owned a pharmacy. Fun fact, they're both chain dollar stores now. So if that doesn't tell you what's happened to the middle class, I don't know what would. And I was very excited to come back here when I moved home, because it's, you know, Federal Hill, the West End, Mount Pleasant. It's everything that's great about Rhode Island and about America. It's where immigrants have been coming for hundreds of years now to make Rhode Island their home and make this country what it has become.
Well, again, this is the official kickoff, but you've clearly been hard at work at the campaign trail. I'm sure we'll be hearing more from you and position papers and campaigning moving forward. But Nick Autiello, again, anything else you want folks to know while we have you here?
It's a beautiful day. Go get some sun.
Get some sun. It is shining here into the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. We appreciate Nick taking the time to come in. Everyone, Paul Dowdy, Jennifer Lawless down at American University. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow, 3 o'clock with the Taste and Rick Simone. We'll have more for you in store on GoLocalProv.com. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel.